Hey friends, this is Audie Cornish, host of CNN This Morning and The Assignment, and guess what? Every story you care about, every angle you want unpacked is now streaming on CNN. That means you can catch my show or other CNN programming whenever you want on your favorite device. And a subscription also gets you access to exclusive video series and unlimited articles. So subscribe to CNN at cnn.com/subscription.
You know how everything's a subscription now? Music, movies, even socks. I swear if
To continue this ad, please upgrade to Premium Plus Platinum.
What? No, anyway, Blue Apron...
This is a pay-per-listen ad. Please confirm your billing.
Oh, that's annoying. At least with the new Blue Apron, there's no subscription needed. Get delicious meals delivered without the weekly plan.
Wait, no subscription?
Keep the flavor. Ditch the subscription. Get 20% off your first two orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Find the biggest voices in sport on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Like me, Hugh Ware. Yes, that really is my name. From the Tops and Tails Darts podcast, talking with all the biggest names from the sport of darts. So what are you waiting for? Search for the Tops and Tails Darts podcast and listen wherever you get your podcasts from. See you there.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Week 8 certainly took its toll, and not just on the scoreboard. Rookie running back sensation Cam Scatterbo suffered an horrific dislocation of his ankle. His season is done. Huge disappointment both for him and the New York Giants. Elsewhere, the Denver Broncos established their Super Bowl credentials as they opened up a can on the Dallas Cowboys. Meanwhile, the Jets are winless no more. You heard me right. They came from a double-digit deficit to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. What does this week have in store? Well, let's find out as we turn the page and look ahead to Week 9 in the NFL.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello, welcome along to the show. This is Graves on Gridiron. I am your host, Richard Graves. Week 9 sees the Cleveland Browns, the New York Jets, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all resting up. Those four teams are on a bye. And I suppose this is the point where we can hold it back no longer. As we reviewed the picks from the show in Week 8, it did not go to plan. The lone bright spot, the Indianapolis Colts, 14-point favorites against the Tennessee Titans. They covered that and then some. Elsewhere, though, the New York Giants, partly on the back of that horrific injury to their rookie running back Cam Scatterbo, weren't able to stay within 7 of the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, then there was the Atlanta Falcons having talked them up, playing at home against the hapless Miami Dolphins. Well, did the real Miami turn up? It certainly seemed to. They had their way in Atlanta with the Falcons. That all meant that the show was 1-2 on the week. It means on the season, the record stands at 9-13-1 against the line. We need to close that gap back up. And we're going to start with our first of 3 Week 9 previews. We go to Houston as the Houston Texans host the Denver Broncos. The Texans with a 3-4 record, the Broncos at 6-2. And I won't lie to you, I had to look twice when I saw this line. The Houston Texans are 1.5-point favorites as they host the Broncos at home. Houston, of course, coming off the back of a hugely impressive win over the San Francisco 49ers, a game in which they held the ball for over 41 minutes. But, and it's a big but, deep into the third quarter, the 49ers were still in that game. You might say on the face of it, well, what does that prove? Well, when you look at the injury issues on both sides of the ball that the 49ers have had to contend with this season and continue to contend with, align that with the fact that for 41 of 60 minutes, they didn't have the ball and they're still in this game. Well, when I look at this week's opponents, the Denver Broncos, I say, well, maybe the Texans win, whilst good, wasn't as impressive as it first might look on paper. Look, the Houston Texans, flat out, they've been inconsistent so far this season. This is a team that makes mistakes, unforced errors on both sides of the ball. It's a team that, frankly, couldn't get out of its own way just 7 days earlier in a defeat on the road, Monday Night Football in Seattle to the Seahawks. And now you're facing a step up in class. The Denver Broncos, the 4th ranked defense in the NFL, largely shut down one of the best offenses in the NFL last week. And that was with Patrick Surtain, the reigning defensive player of the year, missing the entirety of the second half with a shoulder injury. It remains to be seen whether he will have any chance of playing this week. But what I saw on the defensive side of the ball confirmed to me what I thought at the start of the season. You remember that week 1 preview show when I said to Charles Dagnall on this show, the Denver Broncos are my pick to go all the way. The Denver Broncos are my pick to lift the Lombardi Trophy and win the Super Bowl in San Francisco in February. Well, what I saw from Denver last week only reinforced that belief. This is a team that leads the league in sacks. They have 36 sacks this season. Do you know how good that is? That is 10 more sacks than their nearest rivals, the Los Angeles Rams, who have 26. They put 40 points on the board against Dallas. Now, look, that Dallas D is a dumpster fire, but it's the manner in which you handle the men that stand in front of you. And they destroyed the Dallas defense last weekend. They've got Cortland Sutton as their number 1 wide receiver. You've got Evan Ingram at tight end. You've got a rookie running back, R.J. Harvey, who had a coming out parade against Dallas, finding the end zone on 3 separate occasions last Sunday. And then you marry that up with the experience at running back of J.K. Dobbins. I don't just I love what I'm seeing on both sides of the ball here from Sean Payton's team. And then you look at this line and you're saying the Texans with a 3-4 record against a Broncos team who've won 5 straight. They are 6-2 in the AFC West. Broncos 1.5-point dogs in this game? Not a chance. You've got to be kidding me. Take Denver, take the Broncos all day long to cover at 1 point plus 1.5. 2 games still to come. The Broncos and Texans in the bag. You're going to like what we have next. Don't go away.
Find the biggest voices in sports on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Like running commentary with me, Rob Deering.
And me, Paul Tonkinson.
We're comedians.
And runners.
Who chat while we run.
About running.
And life.
Search for Running Commentary.
Run Compod.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Sports Social Podcast Network. The biggest voices in sport. Let's take a look at some of the lineup. Tops and tails.
And he goes, all right, mate, do you want the darts and thing? And I'm like, what darts?
The Anfield Wrap.
Off the field, Liverpool have done everything they possibly could to achieve dominance now.
The Analyst Inside Cricket.
It was announced over the PA system that I was out of the test for injury. A massive cheer went up around the ground. Probably the biggest cheer I've got in the UK.
All on Europe's biggest sport podcast network. Find your next favourite sport podcast. Search Sports Social Podcast Network and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Verified comparison at content.sport-social.co.uk/comparison. Find the biggest voices in sports on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Like me, Ben Johnson from the Perpetual Chess Podcast. We talk about the professional chess world and how to improve your game. Search for Perpetual Chess wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Welcome back. We've already looked at the Broncos and Texans. The Broncos 1.5-point dogs on the road to Houston. I can't believe that. I am snapping your hand off to take Denver to cover at 1.5 points because I don't think they'll only cover. I think they'll win that game. That's the first of 3 games we're taking from the Week 9 slate. What are the other 2? Well, let's go back to the well and start with the team with the best record in the National Football League right now. The Indianapolis Colts delivered in Week 8 for Graves on Gridiron. Can they deliver in Week 9? Well, let's find out because they're going on the road to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers, who are 4-3. The Colts' best record in the league is 7-1, and the Colts are 3-point favorites on the road. I said last week to anybody that would listen, this Indianapolis Colts team are for real this season, and they absolutely destroyed a divisional rival in the Titans, 38-14, and frankly, it wasn't as close as that scoreline might suggest. Daniel Jones at quarterback, new lease of life, if I can get my words out. He lived up to the nickname last week, folks. Danny Dimes is what they call him when he's playing well. Did you see that touchdown pass he put on wide receiver Michael Pittman? Pittman had a defensive back draped all over him. There was nowhere to put the ball but the smallest of windows on his back shoulder, and Danny Dimes threw a dime. Pittman held onto the ball, touchdown Colts, and the rest is history. At tailback, Jonathan Taylor, another player who seems to be having the second coming here, leads the league in rushing once again. He has 850 yards on the ground. He's already found the end zone on 12 separate occasions in just 8 games so far this season. Just look at this offense overall for the Indianapolis Colts. The number 1 ranked scoring offense in the National Football League right now. They're putting, near as doesn't make any difference, 34 points a game on the board, 33.8 points a game to be precise. It's the number 4th overall ranked offensive unit. They rank 6th in passing, 8th in running the ball. But it's not just offense here, folks, that's making this team so formidable. On defense, they're 2nd in the league in takeaways, 6th in points allowed, and they're 8th when it comes to defending the run. Now look who stands in their way. The Pittsburgh Steelers, led by the veteran quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Well, it's a Steelers team that isn't impressive at all. They're in the bottom half in all major offensive categories, bar scoring. They're scoring 25 points a game, which is some feat when you see where they rank in running the ball, passing, overall offense. But it's not enough. Defensively, they're struggling. 29th overall, 30th against the pass, 17th against the run. They're 22nd in points allowed. They're giving up 25 points a game. And now here come Indianapolis on the road with a run game that travels with Jonathan Taylor pounding the rock. I've already said they're the league's top scoring offense this season. Does anybody seriously think the Steelers are going to have enough to keep them out? I don't think so. Even with TJ Watt, the Pro Bowl bound, Hall of Fame bound, probably one day, defensive end, one man can't make enough of a difference when you're playing on a unit like this, and it's not going to be enough for Pittsburgh to stem the tide against the Colts this week. The Colts on the road are going to win, and they're going to do it in style. They'll cover that mark. Take the Indianapolis Colts at -3. Okay, let's finish up with our third game from the Week 9 slate. It is an NFC North divisional battle as the Minnesota Vikings at 3-4 travel the short journey to Detroit to take on the well-rested Lions at 5-2. The Detroit Lions, of course, coming off a bye, and perhaps unsurprisingly, they are 8.5-point favorites coming into this game. It looks a tall order anyway, but just look what the Vikings are having to contend with. Carson Wentz, who's been stepping in since J.J. McCarthy went down injured midway through September. Well, his season may well be over. He had a torn labrum, shoulder injury last week. He was clearly in pain in their loss on the road. Well, he may well be done for the season. So here you go, J.J. McCarthy, this first-year starter, second-year quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, a top 10 draft pick, of course, in 2024. He hasn't played a snap since mid-September, but there are more problems than just at quarterback for the Vikings. Look at what they've done in free agency. They brought in the veteran center, Ryan Kelly. Well, he's out now, suffering from his 5th concussion since 2023. On defense, Javon Hargraves hasn't really lived up to the billing. TJ Hawkinson, the tight end that they traded for, of course, from Detroit. He hasn't lived up to expectations. And we face the very real reality that if J.J. McCarthy gets injured or isn't playing well, it could be time for the undrafted free agent rookie Max Brosmer at quarterback. None of this adds up to success when you're playing a team like the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions, it hasn't been a bed of roses for them this season. They've had their defensive issues to contend with as well, especially in the secondary. They're down their top 2 defensive backs. But look, prior to going on the bye, they comfortably handled the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by 24 points to 9. They've won 5 of their last 6 games. 4 of those 5 wins have come by 13 points or more against the Chicago Bears, against the Cleveland Browns, the Cincinnati Bengals, and most recently, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With the exception of the Bucs, you'd say the other 3 teams aren't particularly impressive. But like when we were previewing the Colts game at the Steelers, I said then, it's how you handle those opponents. And this Lions team have handled those opponents. Their offense averages over 30 points a game. It ranks in top 10 in all major offensive categories. astonishingly enough, bar passing, they're 14th in the league when it comes to throwing the ball through the air. Defensively, despite those issues in the secondary, this is a unit which ranks 6th overall. And then you flip it over and look to the Vikings side of the football. Both sides of the ball, they're ranking in the bottom half of the NFL in just about every major category. They're 22nd when it comes to giving up points at 23 points per game. And you're going on the road against a team that scores over 30. Are you kidding me? 8.5 points might seem a lot for a divisional fare, especially a team that went to the playoffs last year. But this Vikings team isn't the same team as 12 months ago. They are struggling mightily, and now they've got to go on the road against a team who's well rested. They've had a bye week to prepare for this matchup. You better believe that Dan Campbell will have his troops lined up and ready to go. Give me the Detroit Lions to cover at minus 8.5 points. Okay, let's recap the 3 games we're looking at from week 9 as we vow to get back to winning ways. That's right, folks. It's a promise. We start with the Broncos, 1.5 point underdogs on the road. I am snapping your hand off for that. Take Denver at plus 1.5. Then we're going to the best team in the National Football League this season, the Indianapolis Colts, also on the road in Pittsburgh. That's no problem for this Colts team. They'll win and they'll cover at -3 before we finish in the Motor City. The Detroit Lions, 8.5 point favourites at home, well rested, off a bye against the Minnesota Vikings, who are beat up, they're hurt, and hurt in the worst possible way at quarterback. Give me the Detroit Lions to cover at -8.5 points. If that's not enough, there's a bonus. We've got the game of the week. The Chiefs go to the Bills, and a sign of just how far the Chiefs have come along. Remember, maybe a month ago, we're all doubting Kansas City. Well, now they've got a lightning-fast offense. They've got healthy wide receivers in Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown. They're 1.5 point favourites on the road, going to Orchard Park to play Buffalo. It was a classic last year. It'll be a classic again this time. I, for one, cannot wait for that. But we're not going to touch it. We've laid out the 3 games for you. It's that time of year. It's time to get down and dirty and start winning games, and that's what Graves on Gridiron's going to do. Those are the 3 games. Enjoy the full Week 9 slate, and we'll do this all again next week. But for now, so long, everybody.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts, and keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1. That's Richard Graves, the number 1.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Find the biggest voices in sport on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Join us for On the Wire with me, Andrew Blair White, as we look forward to plenty of the best racing throughout this winter. We will be previewing and reviewing some of the top horse racing festivals at Cheltenham, at Aintree, Fairyhouse, Punchestown, and much more in between. Make sure to search On the Wire and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.